making a video. Modern mystic video. Old style, talking about brains and such. It isn't adding much, but just critiquing. He doesn't like my theater, if you're sitting in the audience, metaphor for consciousness. The consciousness just happens. You know, you're just watching consciousness itself. It's just happening. I don't have anything to do with any of it. I, the thing watching, the thing experiencing it, the thing. So he doesn't like that metaphor, the thing tied to the chair in the theater. But I'm thinking just making it an I. You know, if I just made it an I, it's just an I. Yeah, it's just an I sitting in the theater, watching what our eyes see. So I mean, our senses bring stuff in. The eye sees it, and then the dwarves, you know, like say there was a transparency between me and reality, me and my senses, and the programs just splash crap on the transparency. Then the brain sees what got splashed on the transparency. Let's call those emotions, desires, the first reaction. So the desire dwarves, the emotional dwarves, add their color. And then, you know, because we associate words, so they're just the association programs, memories and word associations. And they just flood with, it looks like a bomb. You know, it's got a fuse. You know, they're reactive. They just paint that on the screen in front of our what's coming in. And then there's other dwarves who are, you know, they don't bother with the first image. They just, you know, whatever. And so they wait till the first set of dwarves have painted some color on it, and then they look at it and they say, okay, I sort of get this now. Okay, you got a problem because you have a pain in your ass, and you've associated it with, you saw some ants earlier, you know, ants eating your ass, something. They say strategy, yeah, just itch your ass. And so they just send the do thing out. And the do thing happens, I do, you know, and I see me do. I see this happening. Ooh, I'm doing. Brain is I'm not conscious of what I'm not doing this. Okay, I'm just watching this. I'm not doing it. So, you know, I don't know how to. I mean, I'd like to be, you know, it'd be nice if we could metaphor it with something, come up with some analogy that would really be descriptive, but I don't really hate this idea. You know, that whether you call it a complete projection, you know, the senses come in, you know, the projection shoots out onto the screen. My consciousness sees what's on the screen, and so the screen has the augmented image. You know, it's the image plus its add-ons of emotions and feelings and sensations. Then my consciousness sees that, and then it does its scheming to say, you know, you got to fix that. That's a problem. Or, ooh, she's hot. You know, and then now we just do it runs the output programs of try to be funny or something. You know, try to do something to, you know, to trick it. You know, do something, trip it, whatever it takes. So you could, I did come up with words. I mean, I have, you know, the first value sense is added. So you have your physical senses, and then you have this value sense that, you know, reacts. And that's like the desire and the motion. It's the visceral thing. So whenever it sees something to react to, some association, some connection, it's always in control in a sense. They're always sitting there. The value dwarves, the emotional dwarves, they're always sitting there ready to, you know, red. You know, they're always ready to paint some emotion on something. You know, some sort of fear or worry or something. certainly desire. You know, they're kind of always ready to, ooh, that was stimulating. And I don't do that consciously. It's obviously dwarf behavior. And they're certainly not in control in the sense that they can paint it. It doesn't mean I'm going there necessarily, because I might have some other dwarf, Mr. Spock dwarf, and he's in a mood. See, yeah, mood is really important here, so let me write that one down. Mood. But that's like a theme almost. There's just things, habits we're in, and once those habits are happening, they just hang around until they get broken. It's almost like velocity. You maintain it until something stops it. So something has to break the big the momentum of your themes. So I'm especially like that, very bad at multitasking, because you know, when I'm thinking about something, I'm sort of thinking about it. It just kind of preoccupies me. Tries to anyway. So themes, schemes, mood. You know, so the themes are there, the habits. You know, the schemes are always kind of getting modified by whatever your themes are. You know, whether you're being a good guy this week or a bad guy will kind of dictate what kind of schemes you're going to apply. You know, am I selfish, asshole, strong this week, or am I, you know, moral high ground this week? And then that sort of the mood fits into there in the sense that, you know, sometimes your underlying state is depressed, or so you don't have the energy to do moral high ground, so you just do selfish asshole. So those three words are kind of connected: themes, mood, schemes. Schemes, themes, mood. It'd be nice if they rhymed better, but whatever. And this is like the rest, it's all kind of this memory association thing. It's all word connections and all the memory connections. But there's two ways it's being reacted to. It's being reacted to by what it's recognized to be as a mechanical thing, and then it's being reacted to by what it's recognized to be as an emotional thing. And then both of those things are re-reacted to. So now we have a new mechanical description that we now re-emotionalize, and then we have an emotional coloring that now we intellectually process. And that's how we can sort of, sometimes we have an emotional reaction and our smart brain says, screw that, that's, you know, subjective crap, or something like that. But I still don't want to make consciousness something controlled, because it just seems like it's just that, it's that bowl, you know, it's just the mixing bowl. It's just the, can't help but see what's getting mixed, but that's all it sees. It doesn't see the stir. It doesn't see the ingredients go in. It just, its sight is so short. It just sees the reactions. I just consciously watch myself be me. That's about it. And there's a program that says, alright, I'm not surprised, but yeah, Gary sort of does that shit. So it's like I don't have a, I'm not like, it's like I have a memory of me being me. So I'm not surprised when I'm me, but I certainly can't make me be me. It just falls out of me. I don't consciously do anything. I just consciously sit there and say, shit, I just said shit. So, yeah. I mean, I have a picture, but I'm not going to use it because it's just not complete enough. But obviously it's this feedback thing, you know, when one splash of crap the brain produces is thrown on our vision, our what we're seeing, and another splash of crap is thrown on, and another splash of crap is thrown on, and it just keeps splashing crap onto our sense perception of things. And some of the crap being splashed on is a feeling, an emotion, a desire, and then the other stuff, see, the behavior isn't really splashed on, but there are some thoughts that are splashed on, the theme ideas, some I think it would be very good if you did, you know, so I do get to see some of my behavior before it happens. I get to see some conflict happening. So I see the dwarves when they're fighting, but I don't see them acting. I don't get to see somebody win the fight. Somebody just wins it. And I find out last. You know, it doesn't get into conscious awareness until the behavior happens. So that's another way things get to me, is I behave and they get to me. See, this hand popped in front of me and now I'm reacting to my, hey, there's a hand in front of me. You know, I'm reacting to my own hand. My brain put it in front of me and then my brain is almost surprised it's there. Kind of thing. Alright, so it's, yeah, but look, it's feedback. And I guess conceptually, the elements of consciousness are substantially unconscious. I mean, the construction of our conscious experience is a subconscious construction. And you just call it Mr. Awareness. You know, it doesn't have to be a person. It's just awareness robot or whatever. It's just this thing that where it all mixes together and where you have this end product of watching it happen. But it doesn't consciously control it happening. The control mechanisms are all, they're just lumps under the carpet. From my consciousness's perspective, I can't see them as anything but I can't see any depth to them. Even though I have a very deep philosophy, I can't see it until it exposes itself, until it does something that I see in front of me, until it starts saying something and I say, oh yeah, I know that. I recognize it once I say it, but I don't really recognize it till I say it. Okay, so I'll play this a little bit and then you'll know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah, he didn't really address the video to me, but it must be to me, I would imagine. And it just says Dwarves, and so it's going back 5 years or whatever, 3 years, I don't know. But anyway, I mean, we did this whole thing at Dwarves on a bus and Dwarves in an airplane, and just trying to figure out how they are, how these different elements of our personality, you know, your selfishness and your pettiness and your connivingness and, you know, your laziness and tiredness, you know, all these different, you know, it's just very much like the 7 dwarves in the sense that there's these elements to your personality that are all, it's all just swimming around in there and you're not quite sure which one's going to get eaten by the consciousness shark.
The thing that I think it's most important to get out of, and that is the thinking that there could be one constant consciousness that is watching the activities of the dwarves as they rise and fall in their dominance.
Yeah, I just don't see the problem with that. I mean, if it's just watching, if it's watching and we're saying it's controlling and it's thinking and it's free willing or something, well, I could see an objection. But if it's just a, you know, like the eye in Lord of the Rings, you know, it's just an eye suspended in between 2 poles. And it's just, what's going on? What's going on? You know, it's just looking. It's seeing. And that's sort of how consciousness feels. I mean, it's kind of how it, you have this sense of vista, you know, that it's playing with. Something that's coming from you out into the world sort of thing. Like there's out there coming into you. You know, you do have that feeling of a reverse light bulb. You know, this idea of stuff coming in. But yeah, it is a tricky word. I mean, awareness just doesn't say it. Qualia certainly doesn't say it. But it also, I think, doesn't say it to say there's some the gear shifting is complete or something. It's more of a collective effort of your brain. And so yeah, I just can't do the parsing of control to segments. Somehow, like I said, the conflicts that exist are resolved by theme strength. What themes? Like I said, am I just in the habit of being incredibly principled because I came up with a principle and I said, well, okay, that's a very good principle, and it just reinforced that thing, and until that thing gets knocked down a peg, everything's going through the principle filter. Yeah, I just don't. It's not a great way to say it. So anyway, I mean, metaphor's metaphor.
Which the most certainly isn't. So anything.
I mean, most certainly isn't. Just seems kind of, well, whatever, okay. I just don't know how you could be certain about that kind of thing. I mean, a watcher. I just don't see it as that. I feel like I'm watching my life. It seems like watching. And if I was to say what two things am I doing more, controlling or watching, I'd certainly say I'm watching more than I'm controlling.
To get out of that way of thinking would be good, and as I say, imagining that the consciousness baton is passed from dominant dwarf to dominant dwarf might be a way of helping to get out of that stuck mess.
Yeah, I don't see it as a mess in the first place. I don't see it as all that critical. But yeah, I just can't do the passing to something because I just don't feel that. Doesn't feel rigid enough for that. Doesn't. You still have all the other. I mean, it just seems like everybody's still participating. I mean, anybody, any wacky dwarf at any time, humor dwarf, anybody could just throw something on the screen at any time. It seems they're all there, ready to just slop something relevant. And I guess that's it. There's something that recognizes relevancy. So maybe that's another good word. Relevancy to what would be the themes and the mood. So you have this idea of relevancy sort of controlling associations. What associations are going to be likely arise into your consciousness will be filtered by some sort of relevancy program. But you're certainly not going to ever be knowledgeable of that. I mean, that one seems really quite below the surface. So, anyway, appreciate the video. So it is interesting to try to do something with this idea of consciousness, and clearly we don't really agree on an element of this. I think we could agree that everything happening that we call consciousness is a figment. Yeah, a figment of our brainiation, our brain imagination. It's an illusion. One hell of an illusion. It almost has to step out of being a pure illusion just because of the idea that it did have to create this kind of realness to value. It had to make the unidentifiable property of something in the real world. It can't carry its value on it in the real world. So it has to carry the value in the synthetic brain world. So there has to be a mechanism in the brain that can read that tag, that can do something with that value orientation. And clearly sensation is what makes this all relevant, significant, important, I think. Obviously all very unimportant if sensations were all benign. But clearly there's these malignant ones, and you got to deal with that, because that's a problem. Alright, well anyway, thank you. Appreciate it. Been a long time. Good to see you. Blah, blah, blah.